Morning from La Paz, Baja California South. This is Rick from the channel, and now what? I am blessed today with a catch-up time with a very old friend of mine who wrote a book called Escape to Cabo, and it's not every day you get to associate with, to hang with, to be with a bona fide, genuine bank robber, which is, I don't know if that's what you want to take credit for being, but that's what led you to this stage of your life. But before we get to anything, Steve, it's such a pleasure to see you again, my friend.
But it is good to see you.
It's been some years,
I think the last time we were both on Harleys, if I remember
we were on Harleys. That's some time ago. Give everybody a recap. What were we up to that day? There was a few of us.
Yeah, well, there's three of us, and they had just finished repaving the how do you say it in English?
The highway.
Yeah. And we rode from Los Poriles to back to Cabo at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I believe
we didn't slow it down too much.
No,
we were moving pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So, Steve, I need to sort of get to the bones of why we're here today. I met you years ago, and I had a funny named little hot dog joint in Cabo San Lucas. And I remember meeting you a little bit before that as well. And all of a sudden one day you came in with a book that you had written. The book, by the way, is called The Escape to Cabo. And back then you gave me some of the books. I sold them to a bunch of people out of my shop to great success. But I never knew that background about you until I got that book and I read it. And when I said at the beginning of this, Steve is a bona fide, genuine bank robber, The Escape to Cabo is the story of everything that's transpired in your life in the last, how long? I mean, how long back did that start?
The first bank I robbed was 1996.
1996.
Yes.
So we're talking almost 30 years ago.
A while, yeah.
Okay. And there's, you didn't just walk in and rob a bank. There was something in your mind for a long time before you robbed that bank. Take me back a bit into your life.
Well, I'd have to take you back all the way to when I was knee-high.
Yes?
For some crazy reason, I've been enthralled with bank robbery my entire life. I had people would ask me, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm going to be a bank robber. You know, in fact, I have in the audio that kid does that for me, or says that for me. I just had this childhood, started off as a childhood fantasy. I don't know where it got ingrained into my soul.
But you were going to rob a bank.
But yeah, I just couldn't get it off my mind. I mean, when I walked past the bank, I mean, for 40 years, every time, I mean, I can't say I had ever been into a bank that it didn't cross my mind.
You had that feeling when you walked in?
Yeah, I mean, not that I was going to rob it, but just how nice it would be to rob it.
Let me interrupt you for just a sec. We'll get right back to that. You need to stick around for the end of this because we've got a really neat giveaway at the end, and that's our bribe to you. So stick around. We've got some cool stuff for you. Now, let's go back a little ways. Talk to me about the first bank and how that happened. How did it go from you in the area to all of a sudden you're robbing it?
I was coming back from a seminar in Phoenix. I lived in Tucson. And it was a beautiful spring day. The sunroof was open, the music was nice, and I was just planning on taking a nice leisurely drive.
What are you driving back then?
I had a Lincoln Mark 8.
Lincoln Mark 8, nice car.
It was
yes.
Fun. It was fun.
Okay.
Life was good. I was working hard. But anyway, coming back from this seminar, I stopped at a signal. It was 44th and Camelback.
Pretty hard to forget, right?
Yeah, right. And as I'm waiting for the signal to turn green, I just kind of glanced over and there's a Bank of America sitting on the corner. And of course, what happens to me when I look at a bank, but the the grass was just trimmed so nice, and the trees and the bushes and everything, and it was glowing in the sunlight. It was like a message from God. I mean, not really.
I got you.
But I'm looking at it, uh, and somehow I just maneuvered to 3 lanes and pulled into a parking garage next to it. Almost I mean, I have no idea how I maneuvered those 3 lanes. I just, all of a sudden, I was in the parking garage. And I turned off the car and set my head back on the headrest, and I thought, Scotty, or that's the name I used in the book.
Hey, we'll go to that in a sec, because I love that.
I just said, Steve, this has been on your mind your entire life. Either go in there and do it, or don't think about it again.
You mean, as Bruce Buffer said, it's time?
Yeah. Yeah. And I opened the door, went out, and I went in and robbed it by myself. And
You didn't carry a weapon. You didn't do anything like that.
no.
Okay.
And I explained it in more detail of how I did it.
Yes.
In my story. I stated in the book that it was like I was on automatic pilot.
Okay.
And I believe I was, because I had been thinking about this for 40 years. I mean, 40 years I had been truly, I mean, I don't believe in reincarnation. I mean, I don't disbelieve or believe, but I'll tell you what, it was ingrained into my soul. I just had a fascination with bank robbery.
So you lived out your fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
But man,
Stop it.
My storage.
Now, as we said, Steve was a bank robber, so he spent a little bit of time behind bars. So this is my tease to him. There's the ocean in the distance with all the boats and stuff, and there's bars on the windows, but he can get out of this one. And we're back with the story, The Escape to Cabo, with my friend Steve Lapointe. Steve, when we took a brief break here, I filmed your surroundings here, and something that caught my attention immediately because of my landscaping background. You're surrounded by plants here. Tell me, what's going on?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. My neighbors thought it was pretty comical that I was hoisting up plants from 4 floors down. But, you know, when I was in prison, it was one of the things I missed.
It was cold?
It was rocks and sand and rocks. And I hadn't seen a plant in 8 years. And one day I was thinking about plants for some reason. And I thought, you know, when I get out of here, I'm going to have plants all over the place. I'm going to,
and hence, here we are.
Yeah, and so even though I'm 4 floors up, I figured, I've got them hanging. I made my own.
Perfect. So I need to go a little forward here. I need to ask you some more questions. I hope you don't mind that we're doing this, but
no, I'm enjoying talking to you again.
You did the one job. You walked away. You got away with it. Scared the living daylights out of you from what I recall in the book. It took you a while to calm down and adjust. And then you're driving along sometime later.
No, I wasn't driving. I'll tell you what it was. Or just if you want,
Yeah.
say, Steve, why did you got away with one bank? That was your fantasy. That was what your dream was. Why did you go and do 2?
There's the question. You went and did another one when you'd already done one and got away with it. We're going to go back to this. You got away with it scot-free. We'll go back to that. There's a little something in there.
Okay. but just say, you know.
So, Steve, you got away with one, and I was reading in the book you're having a hard time coming down from that and getting back to normal, and then you decided to do it again. What was in your brain? What brought the next one about?
You know, Rick, stupidity.
Okay.
You know, I got away with one, you idiot. Leave it alone. I mean, I satisfied my desire that I have had all my life. I did it, and I believe a lot of it was I just had to prove to myself that I could do it, and I did that. But like 6, 7 months later, for some reason, I just started thinking about it, and I just thought, I kind of liked it. It was kind
You
of
like the
cool.
feeling.
Well, it was,
And,
yeah,
and a boyhood dream come true. I
yeah.
mean,
It just was kind of cool. I mean, so I decided to do it again.
okay, so let's have a look at this scenario. You got a nice house in the Tucson Hills. You got a nice Lincoln Mark 8. You got a Harley in the garage. You got a woman that you absolutely adored. And then you walk into this next bank. Take me forward from there.
Well, when I walked in, when you have that little voice in your head that said, this isn't right. For one thing, I looked over and there was a fellow at the end of Cashier's Row, and just my alarms went off, and I thought that guy's a cop. Um, then you think you justify it to yourself. No, no, Steve, you're just paranoid. What is it? And so I went through with knocking on the manager's door, going in and asking him politely for $100,000.
You asked him nice, though.
Yes, of course. No dye packs, no tracers. Um, I learned my wife, my beautiful wife, used to go when we lived in Las Vegas. Prior to all of this, she worked at Bank of America, and she used to tell me, when we had dinner, she'd tell me, about meetings that they had. And, once in a while she'd talk about the meetings they had about bank robbery.
Okay.
And
Sort of fit right into your wheelhouse.
Yeah. She never knew about this fantasy of mine. But, I was listening very intently. And so that was the one thing I learned, is that if you go in and ask them for the money and insist that it doesn't have dye packs or tracers, it won't have them.
Then they know that you know something.
Well, they can't. Liability.
Okay.
Somebody in the policy making department determined that it wasn't prudent to piss off the guy doing the robbing.
Okay. Good idea.
So if he states he doesn't want dye packs or tracers, by God, don't give them to him. So I knew that.
So you finished the second bank.
Well, I didn't finish it.
No, but you got done with what you were going to do inside, and then you're starting to head outside. Take me from there, because in the book, that's a very interesting part of what happened.
When I walked out of the manager's office, the lobby was empty.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was like, ooh.
It's not a good sign?
Yeah, this is not a good sign here. And I mean empty. And I thought, uh-oh.
Wow.
And so I really, no other option. I went to the front door and opened it, and a cop stuck his head around there's a kind of an entrance wall there, and he stuck his head around the entrance wall, and he said, hurry up, the bank's getting robbed. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to get away with this. He's in there, kind of thing.
Yes.
And within another foot, all of a sudden, guns came out from everywhere, pointed at me.
Yep.
And then I got tackled. I mean, I got hit by a locomotive. And by the time I kind of came to after getting tackled like that, I looked up, and it was the guy at Cashier's Row. The guy
that you saw.
The guy in my mind that says, uh-oh, that guy's a cop. Abort. Should have listened.
Okay.
Because that guy was.
You didn't listen to the little angel on your shoulder.
No, or the little one on my ear.
Okay. You just didn't
This is
listen.
the guy that talks to me.
That's okay. Okay, so now we go from beautiful house in the suburbs, all the goodies, all the life that a lot of people would like, and now you're sitting in a 60 square foot cell. Where's your brain going right now? What's going on with that?
I've got to be honest. I broke down. Once I got into the police station, there was a moment that reality hit me. I got to thinking about my kids, my wife. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to thinking about my kids, number one, my girlfriend, my beautiful girlfriend, the house, my job. I mean, everything just started swirling around in my brain, and I got pretty emotional about it there, by myself. But then they came in and I composed myself.
As best you could.
As best I could.
Yes.
And they started their interrogation. I wasn't interested in answering questions. I was brief. I just told them I was by myself. I just happened to pick this bank. And they kind of laughed at me because I later found out of the 2,000 banks in the greater Phoenix area,
Yes.
it was the only one that had a sting set up.
They had it staked out.
It had it staked out. And I picked it.
That's just bad luck, Steve.
Bro, out of 2,000 banks, I hit the right one?
No, you hit the wrong one.
Well, yeah. And then, the next thing you know, you're going through a process that, I realized that what I did was wrong. That should I be caught, there will be consequences, and most likely jail. And knowing that and accepting that, I went out and fulfilled a dream that I had for my entire life.
There's just a big consequence.
Daily.
That's the problem, right?
Daily, I thought about it. And
has that thought ever completely left your mind as of now?
no, it still does.
I thought you'd
but
say
you
that.
know what's funny though, is I have no desire to rob the bank.
No.
But I think of what it would be like to rob. I don't believe in reincarnation necessarily. Well, I don't disbelieve or believe.
Okay.
However, it's in my bone. It's just crazy how. Well, I'll give you an example. I went down to Tombstone one time when I lived in Tucson. My girlfriend and I went down and spent a day in Tombstone.
Yep. Been there. Nice place.
And do you know, the lace on the curtains is extremely familiar and extremely comfortable to me.
It's that feeling I've been there before.
The walking, Tombstone has the old plank
Yes. Yep.
sidewalks.
Yeah, I recall.
The storefronts. That give in the wood and it just a super warm and fuzzy. Astonishing comfortable. We went into they have that little birdcage theater down there.
Yes.
Yep. Where they show the.
Been there.
Okay. Those velvet drapes that are hanging.
Yep.
I can feel them. I can smell them. Just very, very familiar, very comfortable. So, like I said, it's hard for me to attribute that to reincarnation, but it is kind of a...
So we've just touched on your life up to this point. I don't want to take people for a 2-3 hour journey through here when they have an opportunity to go and get this book themselves. The other part of this story is how Steve ends up serving his time, and then of course the ultimate, the Escape to Cabo, which is where we are close to right now. Steve, can we do something, only if you want, can we skip the jail time? I just have a few other questions, and then, because everybody that's watching this, we're going to give you some offers, but Steve, how does someone get a hold of your book? What do they have to do after watching this to get a copy of your book?
Well, they can go to any of the sites that they like for, a book. Amazon Books has it. Barnes and Noble, any site that carries books. The audio is also available everywhere. However, I think downpour.com is the best place to get it.
Yeah, that's where I got mine, yeah.
And also, I'm going to give a little hint that we're going to give away a couple of these audios at the end. Some
Awesome.
of you viewers, but
so stick around.
I just blew his surprise.
That's okay. We're getting close. Thanks for your time today. Again, this is the channel, and now what? I'm Rick. This is my great friend Steve. Now, Steve, we need to go a little further on one thing because something really caught my attention when, first of all, I read your book, and secondly, I listened to the audio. It all came back to me again. You named yourself in the book Scott Freeze. Come on, we need an explanation because I know your name is Steve LaPointe, and I know there's a little hidden innuendo in
Well,
there.
there's a lot of those in the book. A
Yes,
lot.
there is a lot of innuendos. Yes.
Um, However, my attorney told, originally I wrote the book with the real names, and was very rapidly scolded for that and told that I can't do that. So I decided, all the names are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. So anyway, I was trying to think what I was going to call myself, and I just thought, I'm scot free.
There we go. It's scot
And
free.
so I used that. I thought, hey, Scott Freeze, there it is.
So, Steve, I know that you've sold some thousands of books, and hopefully this sells a bunch more. Um, when we, and by the way, I want to thank you for your time today. I know that you're a busy guy. You have a schedule. I saw your setup there. You're still doing some more writing and adjusting and working on a second book. But you had some author's notes that you wish to discuss with me before. Just personally, I'd rather discuss it on tape. Tell me about the author's notes. What is that all about?
Well, I learned a lot of lessons in prison, a lot, about mankind and myself. It was quite enlightening. However, there was something that I noticed towards the end of my sentence, and it kind of started around the year 2000.
And so,
And so, right around the year 2000, I noticed something that I decided to take an interest in because it seemed out of character. It just seemed out of character for the prison. I mean, the prison runs pretty much the same way every day, 7 days a week. But all of a sudden, I noticed a influx of young Mexican and black kids. I don't want to say kids, but they were. I mean, they were 18, 19, 20 years old, and they were coming in, and a lot of them were coming
into the prison system.
into the prison system. And it just, I noticed that the prison started taking on a kind of a different rules. Some meat was taken out of the menu. In fact, almost all of it was taken out of the menu for the convicts. And it was at the time where private prisons were the fad. It was when everybody was talking about privatizing prisons. And just speaking with these new inductees, I started finding out that they were doing a lot of time, 15, 20 years.
At that young age?
At that young age.
Wow.
And I asked them they were all there for drugs.
Okay.
So I started asking them, how much drugs did you have on you? And the kid would say, I had an ounce.
That's not much.
No. And how much is your time? And he's 20 years.
Wow.
I'd say, wow. He said, well, it was conspiracy. I've got to tell you, the scariest word in the English language is conspiracy. Conspiracy basically is give the prosecutor a blank piece of paper and a pen and let him write the story he wants.
That is scary.
Because what they do is they'll take, okay, this kid got arrested, he's 21 years old, he had an ounce on him, he does this every day, so that's 7 ounces a week.
Ah,
He
okay.
does this the entire year, that's 365 ounces that he's sold, and he hasn't worked for 3 years, so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, he's being charged with pounds of
Even though he was
narcotics.
caught with this, he's being charged with this.
Correct.
Wow.
Conspiracy. The privatization of prisons is a business.
Yes.
And a convict, these kids are inventory. And the other thing that was alarming was it seemed like most of these kids came from a one-parent household, mostly their mom. They didn't finish high school. In other words, and they all had public defenders.
Yes.
And I've got to believe that the public defenders and the prosecutors were in cahoots to build up the inventory in prisons.
Gotcha.
And these kids did not stand a chance.
So now you've heard it from the inside, but we're on the outside. We're in a great spot, great place in life. I just got to throw one little soft thing that I know about you, because I read the book, you'll see it in the book, and you'll hear a lot more about this story. You should read it. Hopefully you take the time. Steve, you were, when you were putting your life back together, this caught me in particular. There was an old guy walked in and he wanted to buy a vehicle. And as a salesperson, yeah, we like to sell it to people for full pop, but you didn't feel too good about that. Give me your soft side on why you couldn't charge him what you could have got away with.
I just, I don't have a problem shaving or looking in the mirror.
Or robbing a bank.
After I rob the bank, But I can't take advantage of a person that doesn't know better, or, just, he was a great fellow buying a car. He wanted to buy a truck for his grandson.
Yes.
And he was at the mercy of me. So
He trusted you.
100%.
Okay.
And so I negotiated for him.
Okay. I read that in the book. It was very interesting to me.
I told the manager that this guy wants $2,000 discount or he's walking.
Yes.
And, it just felt good.
Yes.
It just truly felt good to do a nice gesture.
Do something good for somebody.
A nice gentleman. And especially coming out of the system that I came out of, where it's dog eat dog.
Yeah.
It was extremely pleasurable. And I've always been that way, but this one in particular.
So, speaking of pleasure, it has been my distinct pleasure to reconnect with you. We're not done, because you live here and I come back down to La Paz all the time. We're going to get together. We're going to have a beer. We'll talk some more. I understand you have a second book in the works. We'll talk about that another day.
I want to just mention the name.
Yes, what's the name?
It's going to be, it is. Just checking in before checking out.
Just checking in before checking out. You know what? Draw your own conclusions. Get this book, The Escape to Cabo. This is Rick from the channel, and Now What? Thanking you for your time today. I want to thank my beautiful camera person, Nurbia, for holding up her end of the bargain. We're going for breakfast. Take care, folks. Enjoy the day.
Nurbia's hungry.
Nurbia. Hasta la vista from La Paz, Mexico.
She's hungry.
Well, we said we were going to do a giveaway at the end. Send an email to the Escape to Cabo San Lucas at gmail.com. The 33rd, 66th, and 99th person will each get a free copy of the audiobook. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. From Mexico, hasta la vista.